My real estate agent who referred this particular company cost me nearly $100,000 to fix and pay for this.
So let me give you a quick rundown. Yes, this buyer used the realtor's recommended home inspector, and her concerns were air quality and the sewer. And she was convinced that that home inspector would do a thorough inspection, including her two concerns. Now, from my understanding, that home inspector contracted out the sewer scope to someone else. And that individual wasn't able to find the cleanouts for some reason and decided to do the sewer scope through the roof and somehow missed a serious defect. Now, that homeowner must have had issues after closing because they ended up hiring a plumber to scope their sewer because something was wrong. That plumber was able to find the proper cleanouts and do a proper sewer scope and found the issue. Now, the state ended up dismissing the case, and the reason is the state didn't have jurisdiction over sewer scopes. They only have jurisdiction over the home inspector following the minimum standards. Now, I think that homeowner still has options. For that $100,000 issue, I think her only option is she's going to need to get a really good lawyer who's going to be able to beat that home inspector's contract. Now, if there was some type of pay-to-play relationship, then she could probably file a complaint against that home inspector through the state, and then that would have to be investigated. I've always been a little skeptical about home inspectors doing sewer scopes, and I'm going to kind of give you some information on why I came to that conclusion. I talked to plumbers that get those inspection reports from home inspectors for quotes from the realtor when there's an issue. And a lot of times that plumber has to go back out to the job site and redo the inspection because there's usually something missing from that report that that plumber is going to need in order to give a more accurate quote. My concern with this is, why would you pay a home inspector, say $250 for a sewer scope? He then sends that report to the plumber, and the plumber says, this isn't good enough. I'm going to have to go back out there. That's going to be another $250, and then I can give you a proper quote. Why not skip the middleman and go straight to the plumber? Now, another big concern is the person who screwed up that $100,000 complaint, I believe, was a plumber. So not all plumbers are going to do a good sewer scope. The safest thing for you to do is going to be to find someone who specializes in sewer scopes. Hopefully pretty soon I plan on interviewing 2 experts. And one of them technically specializes just in this type of situation. And it's going to be really important to get their feedback. I want to know what they think about home inspectors doing sewer scopes and the issues they get when those home inspectors send them videos and thinking that video is going to be enough for a proper evaluation or a proper quote. And then in the comments below, let me know what you think about all of this. What do you think about a home inspector doing a sewer scope instead of an expert that actually specializes it? Or what do you think about using a home inspector that your realtor recommended? Now, I'm going to include the whole video of that case so you can listen to it and draw your own conclusions, and then let me know what you think.
This case is actually connected to HI 24020. And the irony, or not irony, but the circumstances surrounding this is that the respondent for case HI 24020 is the owner of the business. He sent a response in for both himself and the respondent for HI 24019. He was speaking on behalf of, and this is a case, it's a home inspection that was performed at Pleasant Valley Drive in Prescott, Arizona. And Mr. Matthew Maxwell is the owner of the business. And in the complaint, the alleger stated that Mr. Armenta, who is the home inspector and did the inspection on the home, failed to accurately report a leak in a water heater and failed to report a considerable amount of sewage that had leaked into the HVAC system. She also said the respondent stopped all communication regarding the issues identified in an email communication regarding the home inspection conducted by Inspector Armenta after they'd had some communication back and forth over the issue. The alleger later hired an independent plumbing company to scope the sewer and discovered a leak causing the sewage contamination in the HVAC system. The respondent in HI 24020 and the one who wrote the letter for both, Mr. Maxwell, stated in his response that he didn't perform the home inspection in question. His employee did, and he said that the issue which is addressed in the complaint, which happens to be the sewer, issue with the contamination of the sewer scope, or I mean the sewer, and the scope was actually performed by Alphabet Plumbing, a company that they hired. And so he didn't perform the inspection of the sewer either. So I sent this out to an assessment. Mr. Von Ehrenkirk looked at it, and his statement essentially was, while I'm not debating the fact that the issue or these issues in the home exist, I am stating emphatically that these issues fall outside of the scope of the home inspection and are therefore excluded from liability assumed by Silver Hammer Inspections. Mr. Von Ehrenkirk also said that the limitations of the respondent's liability are outlined in the contract, which was included in your packets, and respondent had fulfilled his obligations by investigating further and offering a refund of services.
Miss Weston Ziegler, if you would please again state your name and your position on this case.
Hi, yes. Thank you, board, for hearing me and allowing me to take part in this process. My name is Gretchen Weston Ziegler, and I am the individual who contracted with Silver Hammer Home Inspections to perform a home inspection. While I would like to address some of what the individual just said, I'm going to make my statement and then make a few other statements after that. So here. It is my understanding that the board is here to protect me, the consumer, through pragmatic oversight of the home inspection process. In this case, I paid for an additional air quality inspection as well as an additional sewer scope inspection. I conveyed my concerns to both the inspector and my real estate agent who referred this particular company and was assured that they would do a thorough inspection of the sewer. Whether through malfeasance or incompetence, the work was not performed and was not performed properly. The record that I was given by Silver Hammer shows that they did not provide the service that I paid for. And when I contacted Silver Hammer, I was told several reasons why they missed this very materially important deficiency, right? What I was told in the report was different from what I was told from Mr. Maxwell in person. I went back to the contract, and there's nothing in the contract that states they do or do not. There's simply nothing in the contract other than the services, the sewer scope services, as well as an air quality that I paid for that were not there, right? The reality of this was that this was a pre-existing condition. I had an eroded drain line and sewage that had leaked into the house's HVAC system, and it had been going on for some time. And this was my concern in contracting for sewer scope services with this particular house. The result is that it cost me nearly $100,000 to fix and pay for this. And I am still living in someone else's sewage, literally. Silver Hammer, for their assurances to protect my investment through negligence or incompetence, missed this material issue. And I asked the board for regulatory relief in this case to do its job and protect the consumer. Because if not you, then who? And that concludes my statement.
Thank you, Ms. Weston Ziegler. Keith, did you want to?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I've looked over this and I agree with the assessor, Stephen. These air quality and sewer are outside the scope of our inspections. And I think that's all we can control at this point.
Perhaps do you want to give a little more explanation as to why those are outside of your scope, just for the benefit of the
Well, the
electorate?
standards that we have specifically state what we're required to look at it. It's a minimum standard, and these are not part of it. Now, if they did that as an add-on, which I have no evidence that it was an add-on in the contract or anything like that, but that's still outside of our scope, I think, our control.
Understood.
Just for clarification, it was an add-on. They did pay for it. The Ledger did pay for it. But again, as you said, Stephen said that it fell outside of the scope.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, that kind of changes things dramatically, doesn't it? If they paid for service they didn't get in terms of the sewer or the air quality.
Well, I believe the biggest complaint, and the Ledger would have to speak to this, was the sewer, but the air quality, I believe, came from that. The odor in the home.
But that was after the fact. On the initial inspection, the Ledger did pay for a sewer inspection.
Correct. And so the original sewer inspection was performed by a third party. They, for whatever reason, could not locate a clean out. On the exterior of the home, they were limited to going in through a roof vent. They had limited equipment to be able to do that. They did what was, I guess, and I really don't understand sewer inspections, but to the best of their ability, what they were contracted to do. Unfortunately, it sounds like it did not find what a plumber later found in the Ledger's home. Mr. Von Ehrenkirk also pointed out that it had been some time after they moved in that they discovered that. Whether that's germane, it's still after the inspection. And, you know, the inspection, as I understand it, is at the time of inspection.
Or in this case, the condition would have to be found at the time of inspection.
Correct. Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, so as part of this, the same firm performed these additional add-ons. I just want to make clarification for everybody here that these add-ons were performed by the same company.
Not by Silver Hammer. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it was not the same company because that would
No, they
bring
contracted
further
with it.
discussion in. So, okay, all right, so it's a separate company. So they proposed, hey, you may want to take a look at these other items. They went out and looked at it, and that would be outside, in my opinion, outside the scope of what we're here for. I imagine there's other venues for that, but not this venue, in my opinion.
Yeah, if the complaint is against Silver Hammer and Silver Hammer was not the one that did those add-on inspections, then we really don't have any jurisdiction at this point because the complaint is specific to Silver Hammer.
Correct. Yes. And the inspector, Mr. Amata.
May I address the board?
Yes, please.
We paid Silver Hammer for those add-ons. They assured us that they would conduct those services. They did not state that they were sending them out for subcontract, but in this case, they subcontracted them. We paid Silver Hammer directly, who they assured us would perform these services. Whether they subcontracted it or not, that's who we paid and that's who we dealt with. As far as we knew, Silver Hammer was performing that inspection. As far as the access line goes, the access line was accessible. It is accessible. It is in the garage next to the washer, dryer, and water heater that were all inspected by Silver Hammer. And one more thing, even if, let's just say in a perfect world, I would have called Alphabet Plumbing to discover this problem. Are you telling me that Alphabet Plumbing didn't have the right equipment to perform a basic inspection? Is that not what they do for living and for services?
Yeah. Well, that would be a plumber and not a home inspector in this case. So that's part of the issue. Just to be clear, Ms. Weston Ziegler, so we can only act on the work performed by the actual individual whom this allegation is against. Now, if they subcontracted that to another group, we can't go after that. That's outside of our jurisdiction.
But our contract was with Silver Hammer, not with Alphabet Plumbing. Silver Hammer assured us that they would perform that inspection. I think the technicality here is, I don't know who Alphabet Plumbing is. I was never aware that another person was coming to make that inspection. We were told by Silverhammer, and we paid Silverhammer for that inspection.
Mr. Chair, I probably should point out, as has already been pointed out once by Board Member Sales, there are other jurisdictions in which this matter may be more appropriately raised, such as, for example, in a civil court. This is something that may fall outside the jurisdiction of the board, but that would not prevent the complainant from taking this to any other jurisdiction or any other venue.
Thank you, Mr. Donald. Appreciate that. Does any board member have any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion for dismissal.
Oh, Mr. Chair, this is Keith Smith. I make a motion that we dismiss 8A1 F and G. Correct?
You're making a motion to
I
dismiss
am.
both? They are related? Okay, that's fine. Do you have a second?
Mr. Chairman, Scott Sales, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Sales. Any final discussion by the board? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Dr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Hobick?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, everybody.